Hi, this is The Business Guy. Let's talk about offshore taxation. So can you stick a bunch of money offshore and not have to pay taxes until you bring it back? Is offshore banking legal? And what do I have to do to keep myself out of hot water when I decide to put money offshore? We'll answer these questions and more, and what it means to you. Now, my team and I have been helping clients open offshore bank accounts for over 31 years. And first of all, yes, there are perfectly legal and acceptable manners in which to utilize international companies and financial institutions. Apple, for example, utilizes offshore companies and bank accounts to operate its business enterprise, as does Google, Microsoft, Boeing, Amazon, IBM, ExxonMobil, as well as hundreds, if not thousands, of other US-based businesses. Now, many people who want to form international companies and establish international bank accounts do so for business expansion, asset protection, or other acceptable purposes. Now, there are satisfactory ways to utilize such tools, provided one complies with tax, securities, and other laws. I mean, think about it. After all, Toyota, based in Japan, has what is to them offshore companies based in the US. And they didn't do it for some sneaky offshore tax evasion scheme. They did it to grow their business in a profitable market. Perfectly legal, of course. So with that background, we'll delve into the world of international taxation. Now, there is thought amongst some members of the public that if profits are distributed offshore, one is not required to pay taxes until they bring it back to the country. Now, this may have been the case in the past. However, as of about 1964, U.S. tax laws changed, requiring taxation of both U.S. and international income. And by the way, it would help me out a lot if you could please click the like button below so YouTube promotes this video. Thanks so much. And if you haven't already, you can also click the subscribe button below so that when more videos come out like this one, you'll be up to date right away. Now, there are some ways that publicly traded companies have been able to lower their tax burden in their offshore subsidiaries. But that same benefit is not generally available to individuals who own offshore companies and bank accounts. Individuals can, however, use their offshore companies and trusts for the purpose of protecting assets from civil lawsuits. So asset protection from lawsuits is the main benefit that individuals can enjoy with offshore companies and bank accounts. People can also use offshore companies to expand their businesses to foreign markets, hire foreign employees, open offices and storefronts, and so forth. But for most individuals, these structures are generally tax neutral. That is, they do not increase or decrease their tax burden. Okay, so let's dive further into paying taxes on offshore income. Like domestic companies, there are U.S. reporting requirements with respect to owning and controlling international companies. There are also tax and Treasury Department forms to complete when one has signature authority over an international financial account. Though most of these forms are relatively simple, it is recommended that one secures a knowledgeable, licensed accountant to ensure the forms are properly and timely filed. We believe in full compliance with U.S. and international law, including tax law. After all, somebody has to pay for the satellites. My son was a U.S. Marine, my father was a federal government employee, and my grandfather was also a U.S. Marine. Now, those important jobs that keep our country safe cost money. Now, we do believe in taking advantage of all the legal tax deductions possible and paying as little tax as the law allows. But once it's all said and done, pay what the law requires. You'll sleep better at night. In fact, we've posted many of the tax and treasury forms on one of our websites, so you can discuss this with a licensed tax advisor at www.offshorecorporation.com/tax forms. Or just Google offshore tax forms, and usually our website is the first one to come up. Now, on the other side of the coin, some foolishly believe that offshore service providers should not exist in the U.S., that they should all be put out of business. Others want to go around the back door by placing such financial and psychological pressure on the leaders of the industry that they would want to change professions. That well-meaning but short-sighted thinking shows a great lack of understanding in the offshore services industry and would simply create a bigger problem. And here's why. It is a fact that some people in the U.S. are determined to establish international companies and bank accounts. This may be for business expansion, international diversification, or asset protection. And like it or not, those who desire these services with enough vigor will obtain them. If the providers in the U.S. are put out of business, offshore service providers who reside outside the reach of U.S. authorities are just a mouse click away. Now, we agree that any U.S. service providers who are knowingly and willfully assisting their customers in tax evasion, money laundering, or other illicit activities should be put out of business. However, this is a very low percentage of providers in the U.S. because those who provide such services are generally cognizant of the fact that in order to remain in business, they must only act within the proper legal framework. Our company, for example, has several attorneys on staff, and we insist that every attorney and consultant on our staff signs an agreement that our company policy is to obey the law first and make a profit second. They are not to knowingly do business with would-be customers who intend to use our services to carry out tax evasion, evade security laws, or conduct other illegal activities. We repeatedly email reminders to employees, post bulletins, rehash the importance of legal compliance with coworkers in meetings, and overhear conversations to make sure these policies are followed. Our reverent fear of and respect for our U.S. laws, law enforcement, and lawmakers make us dance like ticks on a hot griddle on a regular basis to make sure there is never a chink in our legal armor. Moreover, we live here too, so we feel it is our patriotic duty to be sure to do our part to support our laws. Now, foreign service providers, on the other hand, have no such motivation to support our laws. They can put profit above adherence to U.S. statutes because they're not necessarily bound by them. In fact, I did a simple Google search a while back, and below is a summary of what I found. One misguided service provider in the Bahamas said, under U.S. statutory code, offshore banks and offshore companies can trade in the U.S. stock market free of capital gains. They proceed to illustrate an erroneous structure where U.S. taxes can be evaded through the use of a daisy chain arrangement of 3 international companies and 2 foreign trusts. Another website operated by attorneys in Central America shows how U.S. people may evade taxes in their jurisdiction. They say that a certain Central American government will not share information for tax offenses, even if it is construed to be a criminal tax matter. Now, what another website purported was quite shocking. It discussed using offshore entities to raise a certain amount of money by promoting illegal drug activities. These tax havens will not share information about you. That's why it's best to set a goal, reach it, and then stop all illegal activity before the government nails you. Yes, it actually said that. Shocking indeed. Another provider boasts of a certain African jurisdiction in that, quote, there is no information sharing treaties and they will not share information with any other country. Moreover, I've personally traveled to Zurich, Switzerland to meet with several international bankers. In fact, I walked down Bahnhofstrasse, which is the street with the highest concentration of banks in Switzerland. I visited the district in order to see firsthand the goings-on of the hub of the world's international financial center. And the scenario was the same in nearly every Swiss institution. I was shuffled into a small private room. A bank employee would push a silver cart offering me 2 different types of bottled water. Gas or no gas, the lady would ask. Soon thereafter, a gentleman in a suit would come in the room and shut the door. Now, one of the first questions I was asked in almost every instant was, will these accounts be reported or non-reported? In other words, the banker wanted to know whether or not the accounts were going to be reported to the government for tax purposes. Naturally, I said reported. The first time I heard this question, my jaw almost hit the floor. And that being said, it is very obvious to any reasonable person that annihilating the U.S.-based offshore services industry, while good-intentioned, would be a very big mistake. Responsible and law-abiding service providers, such as our company, that put legal compliance above profits and that provide guidance that one should seek licensed tax and legal advice, should be allowed to remain alive and well. It would be a big mistake to leave a gaping hole in the international entity formation industry that can only be fulfilled by those who have no incentive to respect the laws of our country. The let's see what we can charge them with, or let's hassle them until they're broke mentality is a suicide vest. Now, these statements are not merely self-serving persuasive tactics because I'm associated with an organization that provides international services. Incidentally, I believe we have established far more domestic entities than foreign over the years. But we talk to people day in and day out who truly believe they can put money over yonder and not pay taxes until they bring it back. And if they do not have U.S.-based companies, such as ours, to correct their thinking, you can see by the examples we just gave who would be left to fill the gap. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, please click like below, enter your comments or questions, share this video. Now, if you have questions, you can visit us at offshorecompany.com and fill out a free consultation form, or you can call us at 1-954-400-1050. See you next time. This is The Business Guy.